guys, welcome back to my channel. This morning we are making slow cooker pork loin. So all you need is you just need your pork tenderloin, you need red potatoes, your carrots, and some chicken broth. So what we're gonna do is what I did first was I sprayed my slow cooker. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get our pork tenderloin in the slow cooker. And this pork loin I prepped Sunday. So we're gonna put both pieces of pork tenderloin in our crock pot. Now this pork loin has a little bit of juice and that's fine, okay? So both pieces are in. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add, well, actually I'm gonna wash my hands first, then I'll come back and I'll show you what we're gonna do next. Now this recipe is very simple to make, and it's not really that difficult to do. Now, if you guys remember a while back, now, I don't really know how long ago it was, but it was like a long time ago, we made pork tenderloin. And you guys, if you guys remember the last time we made it, we made it with potatoes. So this time we're making pork loin with potatoes and carrots. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do 1 cup of chicken broth. Now, you can do this any way you want. If you don't like pork tenderloin, you can use something else, okay? You don't have to use pork tenderloin in this recipe. You can just use something else. You could use a pork shoulder. You can even make this recipe, if you don't want to use pork at all, you can use maybe some chicken breast. But this recipe is pork. It goes with pork loin. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just make sure that this is a cup of chicken broth. Now we don't need it all. We're just gonna measure a cup out. So just like this. I'll show you. So this is 1 cup of chicken broth. And now we're gonna put. Now, like I said, it really doesn't matter what order you do this in, okay? So we're gonna put this in the bottom. Now, the reason why we're doing this recipe is because, 1, this is gonna be really good. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, this recipe is kind of like a pot roast. And like I said, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, you're asking me, you're like, why are we doing this recipe? I'm thinking of pot roast right now. And it's okay if you think this recipe is like a pot roast, but it's not. It's pork. It's pork tenderloin. But if you guys know that sometimes when I do these recipes, you think this is made with, this is a pork tenderloin. And I've seen some recipes where they do it with pork or beef. Now, another thing that I wanted to mention is you can make this recipe with beef too. It goes really good with beef, but we're using pork. But you know, that's just my preference. If you don't want to use beef, or if you don't want to use pork tenderloin, you don't have to. Like I said, you can do this with any kind of meat you want. You can do this with chicken. You can do this with beef. You can even do it with a pork shoulder. So all I did was I added potatoes, and now we're adding in some carrots, and this recipe is gonna be so good. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, I'll show you what it looks like. So, like I said, this is what it's gonna look like. So you see this, you have your carrots, you have your potatoes, and you have your pork loin. So all we're gonna do now is now what I like to do, I like to clean up as I go. So let's get this cleaned up because, you know, it makes life easy. You clean up as you go, and, you know, why not, right? So we're just gonna, yeah, we'll leave the bag there. We're not gonna add that juice. We're just gonna clean this up, and then I'll show you what we're gonna do next. Okay, so now that we got this cleaned up a little bit, you take your lid, you put it on, and we're just gonna put this in. Oh, this is heavy. And we're just gonna, now, let's talk about the setting. So we're gonna cook this on low for 6 hours, okay? So cook it on low for 6 hours. Now, quick tip, pork tenderloin, and I know what you're thinking, well, this is like a pulled pork. This is gonna take 6 hours. When it's had its 6 hours, we will come back, we'll show you what this looks like. The pork should be tender. Now, when you make this, when we do this, you want to make sure it falls apart. Not to the point where it falls apart like a pot roast or a pulled pork. You want to be able to slice it. So just turn it on low, cook it for 6 hours. We'll come back and I'll show you what this meal looks like. All right, hopefully you guys enjoyed this recipe. Bye, vlog on. Peace out. Boom. Okay, bye guys.